vision. Chalk in hand, he's on a mission, shaping dreams with precision.
Hi everyone, welcome again to another Teacher Joseph podcast. One of the strangest things about modern life is that we're surrounded by material where we could learn. We have AI, we have grammar books, we have everything we need, but we are rarely asked to participate in those things. These days, increasingly so, because of the amount of stuff that comes at us every day, we're simply asked to be curators. We're asked to decide, yeah, I like this. Yeah, well, that's nice. And I like this teacher because he has a nice video. I don't like this one, so I'm going to swipe past it. And we're all in spectator mode rather than learn mode. For many of you, learning is just that, deciding which books you like, which video clips you like, because that takes up as much time as learning does. After 1 hour of deciding what videos you like, you don't want to learn. You have to go back to work. It's very, very sad. We're no longer participating with the learning process. We're simply observing it. We are spectating what's going past our eyes. Spectator mode involves watching, listening, evaluating, rating, and it's usually chosen based on comfort and entertainment. What's going to give me the most satisfaction right now? Those are the choices we make when we're spectating. However, participating in the learning process means trying, copying the person's voice, failing, and then realizing you have to try again, repeating until you get it right, speaking, writing, and being a bit clumsy and slow, not being accustomed to writing the things by hand, talking to people that you might feel uncomfortable with. It's very interesting how many people now don't really understand the difference between spectating and participating. And also because AI is there, they use this in the same way. They ask AI, well, translate this for me. But if you participate with AI, you could say, teach me how to do this thing. Show me the words that I don't know. Help me make examples. Are my examples correct? And that would be a much healthier way of learning, where AI effectively becomes your teacher. Part of the problem is we have information overload. We have so much coming in that it's absolutely impossible to curate it, to go through all of it and to decide what we like and what we don't like. We're basically making choices around comfort, what suits us right at this moment. And that is a false signal of learning. It's a cheap imitation. And there are teachers out there who are building careers on just being entertaining because it holds people's attention longer before they can dive into the deeper topics like this, you know. They give very clear, polished information. Their podcasts look wonderful. But underneath, is there any substance? Well, it depends. I mean, passive learning can be very useful, especially if you just want a quick burst and you also want to just escape your life for a little while, just to see if you can learn. The problem is, though, if you are learning in that way passively, it might suggest that something else is wrong with your timetable, because learning does require a bit of an effort, whether you ask AI to teach you or whether you sit down with pen and paper. You need to participate. Just spectating isn't going to help. There's even schools now which just give you info. You pay them, they hand you a book. You go to a language school, it's the same. So, how do we deal with that? Because, seeing things online can be inspiring, and that's great. If they are inspiring you, then they're pushing you higher to go deeper in your learning. And that's really, really important. You need to be doing that. So if they're inspiring you, great, but you shouldn't be relying on them as being my English lesson. And that, I think, is where we go wrong. Learning actually requires tolerating boredom, being okay with not knowing how you're going to move forward rather than choosing a cheap imitation video clip, you know. Staying with confusion is okay for a while until you work out what you want and where to start. Repeating simple things, but letting go of constant stimulation just because it's in your language of choice. These things need to be really considered. Now, the last time we spoke, we were talking about resistance. So we're still on that theme. One of the things that I suggested to you last time for overcoming resistance is journaling, writing down your thoughts. And I really do want to encourage you to consider journaling as a practice of learning. Whenever you want to go and scroll through social media, sit down for a minute and write how you're feeling. Not quite as exciting, but it does work. Some of the prompts that you could use to journal with, and it's sad that the word prompt now is all about AI, but some of the things that you could think about are questions like, well, where am I spectating? Where am I consuming instead of practicing? Where am I choosing comfort instead of actually making an effort? And where am I mistaking inspiration for progress? Now, these things are really important, and one good measure is your joy level. Because if you've actually participated in something, you're going to have a feeling that you've done something. And that feeling will bring you joy. And that's very different from simply smiling because you have some inspiration one day. When your joy level goes up because you know that you've connected with the language you're learning, you feel the difference. You'll know. So that's one way to measure your progress with this, but also really to be journaling and to be asking yourself, how much did I spectate today rather than participate? This is really important in language learning, but also in other things that you do. Many of us, maybe because we're introverted, or maybe because it's hard work forming relationships with people, but we tend to be in the corner. We don't really want to be around people. And we've developed this idea that everything we do has to be alone. Now, there is a stereotype, of course, that IT people, because they spend so much time alone, somehow don't participate. But they do. They're participating with code. They're participating with their colleagues. They're participating on forums. And they're participating with AI as well, saying, show me why this code isn't working. So I'm just using this as an example to show how participation is really, really important. So my question for you today really is, what's one thing that you're currently spectating, that you're watching, that you could take part in? For me personally, I've been really bad at procrastinating over learning Dutch. Every day I say, oh yeah, I need to make a blog post for my Dutch blog. I need to write an email to one of my Dutch friends. I need to look for more Dutch pen pals. But I never do. But yet, in my stream, my social media stream, I'm seeing all these things. I'm seeing the answers there, but I don't participate. I don't answer the emails. I don't go looking for people to practice with. And I don't make that blog post despite WordPress reminding me. So the question today is why? Why is it like that? And if you weren't receiving so much information, and curating it, would it give you more time to actually participate? Maybe it's time to narrow down what's coming in just so you can focus on going a little bit deeper. So, time to think not only about language learning, but where else in life are you simply participating, uh, or rather spectating instead of participating? Could be in a friendship or relationship. Maybe you don't put enough effort into it. Maybe you're watching your kids making a mess of something, of their lives, and you're watching your friend who's going through a divorce. This is what it is these days. We're spectating, but we're not helping. We're not participating. And that is what makes us alive. Well, that's all from me today. I hope to see you all again soon.